We had quite a few people RSVP, so I'm sure they'll be joining. Thanks so much for logging in on this beautiful Tuesday after a nice long weekend. Hope everybody is doing well, has some water, feeling rested, enjoying this lovely day. I'm going to share my screen. Thumbs up if everybody can see that. Great. Fabulous. This meeting is being recorded just so that we can share it with folks who were not able to log in this beautiful afternoon. Welcome to our Arts Provider Teaching Artist quarterly meeting on May 30th. We're going to be logged on together for an hour. So a really quick agenda of what we're covering today at this quarterly meeting as we are wrapping up this school year and looking towards the future. We'll do some quick introductions of who's facilitating today and Harvard Performs staff. We have some announcements for you to be looking forward to, looking out for, coming up, some emails, some exciting save the dates. We have a fun icebreaker that we all get to participate in and do some movement. And really what we're here to talk about is Harvard Performs program growth, expansion, moving into new areas and how you can help and support and why we're doing that. Then we'll have some time for some questions because I'm sure some questions are going to come up from what Tracy and I are presenting. And then we have a survey at the end that takes about 5 minutes. That's just giving us, collecting some information based off of what we're presenting today and how you might be able to participate and contribute and support with all of your amazing talents and skills and abilities that we collectively have as Harvard Performs teaching artists. All right, so introductions first. Hopefully you all know me. I'm Emily Wineski. I'm the programming director at Harvard Performs, and I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Ree.
Hi, everybody. I think I know everybody here as well. Haven't seen some of you in person in a long time, so it's good to see your faces. I'm Ree Poirier-Campbell. I'm the executive director of Harvard Performs, and I'm going to hand it off to Josh A.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh A. Newman, a program coordinator here at Harvard Performs. It's nice to see some familiar faces. I have been able to meet a couple of you in person so far this year, so it's nice to see more of you who are new folks to me. So I'm glad to be with you all tonight. I'll pass it over to Tracy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tracy Avicoli. I know many of you. I'm the Director of Arts and Wellness for Harvard Public Schools, and I am excited to be here with you tonight. Passing it back over, I think, to Emily.
Thanks, Tracy. And sadly, Aisha Mobley hoped to be here, but she is unwell today. So she is sending her best virtually, feeling better, and she'll see you all hopefully soon at our year-end celebration. And next, my slideshow wants to cooperate. Some announcements, back to Josh A.
No problem. Okay, so a few announcements to start off today's quarterly meeting, starting from June 1st to June 30th. June 1st, which is on Thursday, all teaching artists at Harvard Performs must review and submit your program so that they can be on the roster for the 2023-2024 school year. Any programs that aren't reviewed and submitted by June 30th will not be on the roster. So please make sure that you are taking the time to review your programs and seeing anything that needs to have any updates, description-wise, or any other details that would be useful for us to know. With that as well, as of June 1st, all of our teaching artists will be required to review and submit your own updated documentation. So documents being your background checks, your W-9, and your mandated reporter training certificate. We will no longer accept these documents via email, so please do not send them via email. All of these confidential documents will now be housed on the Hartford Performs database. And when your document expires, you will receive an email that will tell you how to renew this document. So moving forward, all documents, background checks, W-9s, and mandated reporter trainings will live on the database. So when anything expires, just be sure to review that email so that you know how to update it so that it can be verified by one of the Hartford Performs staff members. Next announcement will be the save the date.
So we are putting together a fabulous year-end celebration as a huge thank you to all of our teaching artists, to all of you for all the amazing work that you do in Hartford schools, making us who we are. So that is on Wednesday, June 7th. It's going to be in person at Hartford Performs offices at 75 Charter Oak Avenue. There will be food. There's going to be fun. You probably got some emails about how to maybe upload some pictures or create a digital virtual message. So lots in store. Hope you can save that date and join us in person. And last announcement is that we, I think, have about 19 programs left for the school year in our database. And so just please make sure that you submit any of your program vouchers immediately so that our site coordinators can submit the vouchers as well, and we can get you paid out before the teachers leave schools for the summer. I think the last day of school for most schools is June 16th. So we're asking that you submit all your vouchers by June 12th, so those can all get wrapped up for this school year. Okay, back to Josh Shea for a fun icebreaker.
No
I'm
problem.
gonna stop sharing.
Okay, everyone. So for this icebreaker activity, I want you all to take a moment to reflect on your work this year and sum it up in one word, and then we'll have an opportunity to share it with the group in the end. This icebreaker has a couple of steps, so I'll guide you through each one. First, you'll be taking about 10 seconds to think of a word to describe your whole year. Then you are going to think of a movement to pair with that word. So I'm going to count down out loud and give you all 10 seconds to think about a word to describe your whole year, starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, with that word that you have to describe your whole year, I want you to think of a movement or a gesture of any sort, any movement or gesture that you would pair with that word. We're going to show each other in the group 3 times. I'm going to count down from 3, 2, and 1, and then you're going to show your gesture each time I count to 1. So in 3, you're going to show your gesture that matches your word that you chose to describe your whole year. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going to do it a second time so everyone can see. Be sure to look around the room, see what everyone else is doing, because we're going to comment on each other's gesture in a little bit. So second time, 3, 2, 1.
Fulfilling.
No words yet, Bob. Not there yet. Thank you, though.
I can't see anybody else.
Make sure your camera is in gallery view so you can see everyone else. But we're going to do one more time for our gesture so that you can see if you missed it. So 3, 2, 1. Nice, nice. Okay, next, I want you all, thank you all for sharing your movement with us. We don't have any words yet, but let's take a moment to jot down what we saw go around the room or around the the Zoom call and share it in the chat. Did you see someone doing an interesting gesture? Did you see anything that you have a question about? Or what was your gesture? How did you decide on it? Take a few seconds to jot it down in the chat. Oh, okay. I see Joy from Adelka. Ooh, Emily says she saw sparkles.
If I could spell exhilarating, I would put it down there.
Nice word, Lance. Oh, Aaron says they saw someone doing something that made me want to sing Mr. Sun. My gesture was fist pumping for gratifying. It is great to hear that the year was gratifying. I'm excited to hear more, Robert. Can you share with the group?
Why did you choose me? Anyway, oh, hey, Lance, I know you, Lance. Well, I just thought back and I can remember the feeling after the session, just looking around and feeling like the objectives were accomplished, the kids seemed happy, and the teachers were all smiling. And so it was gratifying to feel like a sense of accomplishment and connection with the kids.
That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing. Craig, I like your word flow. Can you share a little bit more?
Hey everybody, sure. Yeah, this was a really good year. I changed my pricing structure and had basically the same amount of income coming in with a lot less work, and I really appreciate that. And it just felt like everything just sort of flowed this year. It was very peaceful, and the kids loved what we were doing, and the teachers seemed to really appreciate it. Had some very different experiences with special needs kiddos, and it all just sort of flowed together this year.
Thank you for sharing. I see Aaron added a second comment. Mine was evidence, which seems boring, but it's actually really exciting to me. Aaron, can you share a little bit more? You'll be our last person before we move on to the next activity.
Yeah, just that I feel like I often feel all the right things, but it's hard to then communicate those to people later. And this year we spent a lot of time actually really figuring out other ways to quantify those good feelings and to be able to see the successes and the rebound in the actual evidence of new people coming and new grades enjoying things and teachers returning who we haven't seen in a few years. That kind of evidence like makes me feel that joy over again, just in a pie chart.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's very good to hear that you have these real life examples that are explaining how you feel, and you feel like it proves how your year has went, and it's a great demonstration of that. Thank you for sharing that, Aaron. But thank you all for participating in today's icebreaker. I hope it was very fun. It was very low stakes. Didn't want to have you all doing too much, but definitely interested in how your movement depicts how your year went for you. So thank you all for sharing. I'll move on to the Hartford Performs Growth with Emily.
Back to sharing my screen. Okay. Sorry for the flipping. All right. So my movement was this, which was expansion, because we are growing, our programs are growing and expanding in exciting and ways. So just really wanted to give you a brief recap on what some of that expansion has looked like last year, this past year, and this coming year. So we've piloted 2 new programs back in 21-22 One was a middle school artist in residency program that was running at our 4 standalone middle schools. That continued with great enthusiasm this year. We also have been doing a lot more family engagement literacy workshops. So those are workshops happening in the evening, and the schools are utilizing Hartford Performs teaching artists to engage family members and also show ways that families can use the arts at home to support their children's literacy. We did about 9 this year, which was really exciting, just within Hartford Public School districts. And we got contracted to do a couple more outside of Hartford Public Schools, which is exciting. We also, some schools have acquired some additional funding, which I think Tracy can share a little bit more about specifics of where that funding has come from. And we were hired to run some after-school arts-focused programming at one of our Hartford schools. It was like a multi-week after-school arts enrichment. We've also been contracted, and schools outside of Hartford Public Schools have reached out to us to take advantage of some of our student programming from our roster. And another program that we piloted in 21-22, we continued to implement this past year, a pre-K arts integration program package, which entails professional learning for our teachers, teaching artists 4-week residency in a pre-K classrooms, and a family engagement night to show families how the arts are being utilized in their pre-K student classrooms. In many of these programs already, we know there's interest and excitement and funding to continue some of these programs into the next year. So our programs have naturally been growing and expanding. And I'm going to pass it to Tracy to talk a little bit more about what's happening in Hartford, more ways of growth and expansion of what we currently do and how that can be utilized, and then hear from all of you about maybe areas where you can support in this growth and expansion. So I'm going to stop sharing and pass to Tracy.
All right. Okay, so hi everybody. This is very exciting. So let me just make sure that I can do it in a slideshow form so you can see this a little bit better. So throughout the inception of Hartford Performs, since 2009, Hartford Performs and Hartford Public Schools have had an amazing partnership, and we will continue to do so. The sort of impetus that has sort of rocked our world, I'll say, was obviously the COVID-19 pandemic and the changes in what education looked like. And not only that, but how the impact of the pandemic really affected our arts, our subject area. So what does that mean? So we came back to school this year. I came back to school this year with sort of a confused look on my face because I felt like it was starting from square one all over again. And part of that was really scary. A lot of that was really scary. And part of that I took as an opportunity to say, what do we need right now? Because our district and our department and our just our world is a lot different than it was even last year at this time. And so I started to just think about how to gather as much information as possible to figure out what we really needed. And so I could say from, my feeling, from my observation, from just knowing that we needed something different, but I couldn't really pinpoint what that was until I gathered all the information. So myself and a few other folks from Hartford Schools conducted about a 3-month-long department-wide audit of various components of the arts in our schools. So we looked at how many students are enrolled in every school versus how many arts teachers they have, certified arts teachers. We looked at how many instructional minutes one school is getting versus another school, just based on schedules and survey data that we got from principals, other administrators and teachers in the schools. We looked at that Emily was saying about all of the different or new types of programming that Hartford Performs has been sort of asked to do in our schools. So we took that as valuable information, as what is the desired stuff, right? What do schools, what are they asking for? And what can we provide? So we took all that information, there was a lot more too, and created and really quantified everything. So we took everything, made it into a number, and then presented this sort of report in terms of what we found. And what we found was that we have some gaps. We have gaps that kind of exist from school to school, or from neighborhood to neighborhood. So for instance, if I'm a student at, I'm going to use Naylor because I'll use Naylor as an example later. If I'm a student at Naylor School, I have an awesome music teacher. I have an awesome PE teacher. I oversee PE as well. I have an awesome technology teacher. I don't have an art teacher because we can't find one. We have the money for it. We just can't find a teacher. And I don't have, we don't have a band right now because I don't have time in the schedule for the music teacher to be able to pull out for instrumental. Okay, so when after I leave Naylor School, I go to Burr. When I go to Burr, I will have, no, I won't have art again. And then I might have instrumental. I have music of some kind, but I don't have an instrumental program. Then when I leave and go to Buckley, there's a marching band program. How will I play in the marching band if I haven't had those experiences in elementary school and in middle school? And part of that, I'm just using that as a kind of an extreme example. Some of that we've already fixed. But I'm using that as an example to just sort of illustrate that it's not that we don't have the positions, not necessarily, it's that we don't have the manpower at this current moment. And so we don't have the manpower with the expertise. And so I brought this problem to Hartford Performs because of their deep commitment to our schools and to our kids. And we thought about kind of different ways that we could support this. So the idea would be for all of the people that we serve and that we involve in our partnership. That's what you see sort of within this graphic, right? How are all of the constituents or all of the partners within Hartford Public Schools working together to achieve the goal and outcomes for both themselves, like local teaching artists, being and continuing to be a really valued member of our school communities and really fostering and growing that relationship that you guys have with our schools, with our principals, and with our students. We want families to continue to gain access to strategies that Hartford Performs has, to just what Hartford Performs is and the community of the arts and how it can help their child at home to just re-engage in school and be excited about expressing themselves in a new way. And then obviously we are continuing to be here for students and for teachers in same but possibly different ways, a little bit from what I was just talking about. So I'm going to just kind of give you I gave you that example from Naylor. So this is kind of just a little bit of a illustration of what that sort of looks like. So Naylor Elementary School, you'll see that one arts vacancy. So what this could look like is that we're going to try to provide some more choice for the schools that we offer, right? Right now, Hartford Performs serves all of our K-8 schools. And the majority, the bulk of that programming comes from arts integration programming that is tied to both a content area in the classroom, such as science, social studies, math, and also an arts area. right? Like dance, movement, art. Moving forward, we still want to continue that. That's the best part of Hartford Performs. And we want to be able to offer schools choice and an expanded menu of services that their school can sort of pick from within the range of their funds, their given funds based on the number of students that they have, to be able to have a little bit more autonomy in how they use Hartford Performs to improve their school community. So this is just an example using Naylor. We know that Naylor right now is a K-5 span of grade band. With that art vacancy as of right now, we said, well, this is just an example. What if we gave up, Naylor wanted still do arts integration for K-5, but instead of having $20 per student for arts integration programming, perhaps it's cut to $10 a student. This is just an example and just to kind of conceptualize for you. So that half of that pot could be towards art integration programming. And then the other half could be towards things that they're starting to ask for as extras with extra COVID funding that will dry up after next school year. So this is also a plan for sustainability so that we can continue to provide the things that schools want within a contract and within the amount of money that we have to be able to provide services, right? And to pay you what you deserve. So in this example, they could still have arts integration, possibly less per grade, but still access to that for every kid. They might choose to have a 5-week residency by a local teaching artist who is a visual arts, who has a visual arts background or is a local visual artist or a muralist, to give access to students in that school to visual arts because they don't have a certified arts teacher in that school. That would be a way that we could still provide an experience for students in that subject area without necessarily having that be a certified position. Some other things that schools might choose and that are wanting that Emily said, and that Hartford Performs is doing a lot of work in providing access to, is those literacy family nights and possibly a full school cultural assembly that we're working to ramp up culture and climate in our school through access to cultural material. So those are some of those ways that is how it could kind of be built. Now, how could you guys help? Here are some things that if you are interested in figuring out how you can use your talents, your artistic background, and perhaps your artistic education in another way that would still be provided through Hartford Performs to Hartford Public Schools. So some of those things would be to work for Hartford Public Schools as a substitute teacher, and that would be in the arts area. So what that could look like is in that example of Naylor, that if one of you on this call, for example, had a background in visual art, and I'll jump to this long-term substitute position, and you have a bachelor's degree and you have 12 credits in art from a school. Doesn't have to be art education. You have 12 credits in art because you were going to go to school and finish your degree, or you got your degree in art. We could hire you as a half-time long-term sub, where this is just an example, but this person could really work as a long-term substitute for half of the day at Naylor School, teaching art to students at Naylor, and then have the freedom or the rest of that day or their calendar, that half time, to do other contracted work through Hartford Performs. So I'm using that half-time example to kind of just note that this can look flexible. This can look other, different ways. And we haven't worked everything out, but that we are exploring different ways that you guys can can provide additional services to our schools if you would like. So some of that, again, would look like substitute teaching opportunities. Short-term is really those kind of per diem. That's what it would be like per day. So, you know, we would make sure that that was in an arts classroom. And those are the degrees or certifications for each of those. Long-term substitute, the qualifications for that are a bachelor's degree and 12 credits in the subject area. That is because that's a salaried position, a half-time, you know, it's a salaried area. But beyond that, that's an opportunity to actually work for our district. You don't have to do that. Just some other things that Emily will guide you in completing the survey after this is, you know, what other areas do you, or what are the areas that you might be interested in providing some direct arts instruction, perhaps for some of our students. So in that example of Naylor, where they do have a general music teacher who's fantastic, but unfortunately it takes a lot of manpower, another set of hands sometimes, to restart an elementary band program after it's been dismantled after COVID. And so this could be an opportunity for perhaps somebody to come and do some pull-out instrumental lessons for small groups of students, you know, on a consistent basis, but that would be programming that a school would be able to kind of choose through their menu of choices. So that could be one option for sort of providing some direct arts instruction to our students. So think about that in that terms of like a lesson format. We're going to be still continuing to focus on arts integration, but then also looking at some increased arts focused programming. So again, in that example of Naylor, we talked about like a long-term residency where you will make connections to other subject areas. However, the main focus is for the kids to do arts, right? The main focus is for the kids to do arts. So that's that arts focused programming. You might not teach a lesson in X, Y, and Z, but it's really it's a more arts concentrated program and most likely more long-term. After school programming, this is definitely an area of interest in a lot of our schools, especially with the federal funding that has come into our district. And Hartford Performs sort of being on the front lines of being asked for, you know, can you do something for us? And I'm probably speaking to people on this call who are doing that as we speak or providing our after school programming for us or have. It's definitely an area that we want to look at, you know, working on. And most of those will probably be those arts focused programming or direct arts instruction, I would think, in terms of the after school stuff. So I just dumped a lot of information on you. And I kind of didn't want to stop because I knew that there were going to be questions and I was going to need to kind of wrap it up first. So I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions. And then I know that there is time for us to fill out for you guys to complete the survey for us. You can just unmute and ask your questions if you have one.
Yeah, I have a question for you. This is Lance. How you doing?
Hi, Lance.
Thank you for that dissertation.
Yeah, it certainly was a dissertation. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's really compact and a lot of information. Well, how could it also work the other way with the teachers? Now, for example, use and I'll be upfront with I do a little art, but my whole thing is music. You know, this is about music and in all aspects. Say you have a teacher that does do band, you know, and for example, I came in there, I would take care of the other general, I could take care of the general music that she's not doing, but she can, then she can, or he can have the opportunity to pull out. You know, in other words, using that teacher's emphasis, what they do that's strong and what's being deficient at the school as a way to compromise what you want to achieve. Just give you an example, like I'm not a trumpet player, I'm not a, you know, I can play guitar, piano, drums and stuff like that. So I can take care of the other general music. And if you really wanted a band at that particular school, then the full-time teacher can fill that gap. Can that work too?
I think you mean you bring up a really interesting scenario, and I don't see why not, as long as there is the hours available. Like, so we would have to make sure that that would, you know, jive with the classes and how many hours, like Hartford Performs hours, are available for that school. Just because the general music classes are, you know, those happen all the time, and so it would be harder. It would be a lot for the teaching artist to take over as the general music teacher. But I do like the idea of working on each other's strengths and being complementary to each other. And so that we can definitely have conversations about, and, you know, doesn't have to necessarily look like you pull out and you do this. I think, yeah, absolutely. We can definitely work on complementing each other.
I have a question.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah. How will we know about the application process to take advantage and enter into these programs?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So the regular substitute application is on our website. It's hartfordschools.org. And you can just type in substitute teacher, and there's an application there for all varieties of substitutes. So that would be the first step. And then you would be in the, you know, you'd kind of be in there. After that, then we would work on sort of the structure of which school we would pair it with, and how that would look within the Hartford Performs framework as well.
Now, does that also apply to what Emily was discussing about, like family assembly programs and whatnot? Is that information also available now to apply to do those types of programs?
So I can take that, Tracy. So we're giving you a survey today to gather interest. So beyond what you offer on our current program roster, what you plan to offer next year, your general program listings that teachers select from, this survey is going to help us gather information, right? For example, I know Lance first as a drummer, and recently learned he also does some guitar, and that's helpful if as we're speaking to schools and understanding where gaps or needs areas they have. If they say guitar, we are now going to have an additional database per se to see which artists can help fulfill those gaps. So it's more kind of like expanding your catalog of offerings, and then as we speak with schools, you know, it's always the school's choice, and, you know, we can present to them who on our roster could fulfill this need area, and who's going to be, you know, the best fit for the age group as well. So that survey is going to collect all of that information. So that will serve as your application, your interest in what you want to participate in and what areas you could possibly fill.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm sure there'll be a lot. So don't worry. And like Emily said, we're really just trying to gather information on all of your talents, or all of the talents that you would like to share, or that you would be interested in, you know, in pursuing further with our students. So I thank you so much for just being open to the possibility. Oh, I see Leslie. Do you have your hand up, Leslie? Oh, you have your mute on.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean,
That's okay.
so I'm wondering, I don't think I'm the only one on the Zoom meeting today. Like, for instance, mine, what sort of multi-arts, like I do poetry and creative writing, but with different kinds of arts infusion. For instance, right now I'm in the middle of a jazz music and poetry residency, but I also do a lot of residencies that focus primarily on, say, visual art or nature, or, you know, like there's like that, the other kind of art form that I would infuse the residency with would depend on the plan for the residency. So do you see that? I mean, that's different than saying, I'm going to come in and be a visual arts teacher, but do you see room in your plan for people other artists too, who might say, well, I'm a dancer, but I do dancing with music or dancing with cultural arts, or, you know, I'm wondering, like, would that fall under that arts focused residency, or would that, or does that not really fit in this scenario?
Yeah, and I think,
If I wanted to come in and do a poetry and visual art residency or program that would give kids a chance to create visual art, but with a literacy connection, is there room for that in this scenario? Or is
Absolutely,
it more focused
absolutely.
on, we need an art teacher, so we just need a visual arts teacher?
No, I mean so you bring up a good point, Leslie. And so we're not getting rid of the things that we are currently doing. And
Right,
so
I did hear
we
you say
currently
that.
have right. So
Yeah.
Try to think of it as more expanding and not, changing completely.
Yes, no, I did hear you say that the integration part was changing. I'm just wondering, in the expansion scenarios that you presented, are they pretty focused on somebody who can be a visual arts teacher or somebody who can be an instrumental or band teacher? Because those were the only two examples I heard.
Yeah, no, I there's definitely room for still programming that connects other subject areas for sure. That's always going to be valuable. I don't think that that's ever going to go away. So in the example that you gave with, in connecting visual arts with creative writing, absolutely. And so yes, I think that is definitely still an area of need, and that it's still important. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, I think so. Thanks.
But Leslie, if you were
Yeah.
interested in doing sorry, Emily, if you were interested in doing like just visual arts program and not connecting it with another area, that's okay. That's what we're saying now is okay, to sort of start thinking about. So.
Thanks.
So can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, sorry.
That's okay. It's Santa. My name is Santa.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit like Leslie's, but not really. So let's say I am a visual artist, and because I've been a teaching artist so long, I tend to integrate things even when it's not required of me. Like there's just something about having been trained in that way. But I'm wondering then about, like, if I were a visual artist teaching, I mean, I'm not certified, but I've taught at the college level and all across. So say I'm teaching, would there be a possibility of doing something more like a residency with that, where classroom teachers bring something and I'm teaching art, but I'm also feeding other curriculum? Or does that not at all? I mean, that's just what we do anyhow, right?
Right, of course. Yes, of course. Again, that's always going to be something, that's what we ask of our certified visual arts teachers. We always want to make sure that connecting is part of, that's part of our standards. And so, yeah, that will always be important and something that is wanted. So thank you for those questions. Jean?
Hi, Emily, I have a question for you. Can you tell us a little more about moving outside of Hartford schools?
So this year we were approached by Riverside Magnet School, which is part of the CREC. Am I right? CREC school system?
Yes.
It's
So-
not correct. It's Goodwin, actually.
Goodwin
Oh,
University.
sorry, Goodwin University. So Hartford students attend that school. So within Hartford performs the mission to serve Hartford students. Even though that school is out of the Hartford Public School District realm, it is still within our mission of serving and working with Hartford students at
Okay.
that school.
Sounds good.
And Women's League as well.
Correct. We're going to be expanding our pre-K program to the Women's League for next year, which are also Hartford children, just not going to Hartford Public School pre-Ks.
Okay, thanks.
So it would be to your benefit and our benefit as artists to when we do like a new resume, like for example, you don't know that I'm, as you just heard, guitar and piano, which are very strong in as well. I also am strong in theater. So you probably want to know more, really some other things that we're doing as artists that are strong that might be able to be helpful for you, especially, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
That would be great. Anything that you were that you would be, again, willing to or wanting to share with our students. Right, Emily?
Yes, yeah, and if it's helpful, I can pull up a preview of the survey just so you can get a sense of the questions we're specifically asking. So there are some specific asks. And then there's opportunity. I actually just plopped in a comment box for these beautiful things that Leslie, Santa, Lance have brought up of these alternate ideas. And so there's just a blank box if you have other ideas beyond what we're specifically asking. So let me just share very quickly. Okay, so the first page of the survey asks for your contact info and then whether you're planning to list your programs with us or not. When you say yes, it's going to take you to these questions. So the first, are you interested in leading some direct arts instruction or through an arts focused program? So that's lending to what Tracy was talking about, some more, right, a visual arts program could have a poetry tie into it, right, could connect to nature or other subject areas, right? As artists, we're always making connections, but there is a, more focus on a visual arts or theater or music or dance, but can have other tie-ins. So your options are yes, no, or that you're interested in finding out some more information. I'm giving you options to select the arts focused areas that you have experience in. Right here's Lance where you could select theater. You could put down, there's a space other. If you have something that's not specifically listed here, you're welcome to fill that in. Next question does get a little bit more specific into music because I know that these are needs areas in Hartford Public Schools. So if you have any experience in some traditional band or modern band, I also have a very open other box. If there's something here I didn't list, if it doesn't apply to you, you can just click none of the above. And your answers to this survey are not going to impact your continued relationship with Hartford Performs in any way. This is just an expansion of what you do. What grade levels would you be interested in providing at either direct arts instruction or small group? This is really good to know where your niche is. If you like the pre-Ks to 2s, that's so helpful to know. If you love middle schoolers, that is so helpful to know. But please be truthful and honest whether you want to work with pre-K or middle school. I love my middle schoolers. Someone else can do pre-K. Here's a question about if you're interested in learning more about that substitute position. And I think this could be at one school. So, sometimes I think of a substitute position and I'm going to be called up and be somewhere different at each day. What Tracy was presenting here was that you would be, a part-time substitute all school year at one school. So you'd really get to know those students, develop a relationship and teach that curriculum. And you'd still be able to do some gig work with Hartford Performs or other arts organizations you might be a part of. There's a question here about a link up program, which all of the 3rd grade students in Hartford participate in. It's a fabulous program. I got to see the culminating experience that they play with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra on the last day. And it's beautiful. Entire Bushnell Theater is filled with 3rd graders playing recorders. And so we want to ensure that even if maybe a school doesn't have a music teacher, that 3rd graders don't miss out on this awesome experience. So you can click this link to learn more about this program if you have any experience with recorders. And if you're interested not, or you just want to chat some more about what that entails, And then some of our additional programming, this is what I presented in our after school family engagement. What are you willing to do? What are you interested in doing? Some folks, I know you don't want evenings filled up. So don't click after school or evening and I won't reach out to you. I won't put you on that roster. Here's a comment box I just added. So if you have other ideas of residencies, for example, what Leslie mentioned, that you would be interested in offering through Hartford Performs, this is the spot to tell me. I also have a box of if you have any relevant training or certification or professional development, also in a box. Some of you have reached out to me or Aisha this past year that you have professional learning workshops that you have created and you've presented elsewhere, and you're wondering if there's a spot here. So I've added an upload button if you're willing to share a sample of that workshop with us. Again, this should be something that you've already done and presented to educators elsewhere. That's helpful for us to know. And that's pretty much the survey. SurveyMonkey tells me it takes an estimate of 5 minutes. We're gonna give you, we have, let's see, we have a few more minutes if there's any other questions.
Emily, can I add something else?
Please.
We're talking about this stuff because it's new. It is also the smaller part of what we're going to do. Our traditional programs are going to remain our traditional programs, and they are going to be the biggest part of what we do for a very long time, if not forever. So that marrying of a Common Core state standard and a National Core Arts standard in an arts integrated program, that is like the base of what we do. And that's going to be the majority of what we do. We're stepping into these new areas slowly. So we're talking a lot about them because they're new and nobody's heard about them, and they're new to us, and we're kind of trying to feel them out. We might be doing this new model in 1 school next year or 2 schools, but it won't be district-wide. We're not going to blow up the whole system. We're going to go into this pretty slowly and see what the interest is with the schools, and see what interest we have from all of you and what talents you can bring to this. As Emily said, we might not know all the different things you do. We have only asked you at this point, what can you do that marries a Common Core state standard and a National Core Arts standard, and you can do in like a 45-minute program? That's a really narrow thing. That's all we've asked of you at this point. Now we're saying, okay, so what don't we know about you? And that's what we're trying to figure out so we can expand what we do. But be sure that the largest part of what we do is what you're familiar with. And then we hope you'll come with us on this journey to figure out, okay, so what else can we do when there's new opportunities? When either there's new funding or there's new interest or there's a gap to be filled. And that's what we're trying to do with this.
Emily?
Hey, Bob.
Could we have some more time? The reason I ask is for instance, like you ask about giving the examples of professional development and things of that nature. It'll probably take me 5 minutes to find the one that I want to send. So is there a way you can do?
Oh, I'm not limiting you 5 minutes. I'm saying the whole survey, if you did it really quickly, will take you 5 minutes to complete. This isn't this isn't like a half-hour application process. It's very short. It's that 1 page. So
then I had that wrong. So it's just something we're going to, after we've closed, we're going to have that survey sent to us to fill out?
Yep. Josh can put it right in the chat right now, so you can open it up on your window and then take your time filling it out. It can also send it out again by email, so you have access to it if you don't have time this evening to fill it out.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I was a little worried.
No worries.
Yeah.
I see Adulka. Ooh.
I have a question. Thank you. I'm curious. My regular school year programming, I wanted to add one program because I found something worked really well in other school districts. It was a really successful program, and I would love to be able to offer it through Hartford Performs. Can I still add a brand new listing entirely that isn't just editing one of my current programs for next year?
That's a good question. We are, Delka, if you could include that in this survey,
Okay.
that would be a good place to start.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Lance, did you have a question too?
Yes, you said you're going to email the survey because I won't have time to fill it out. I want to really take my time to look up some things I want to look up for to give it more substance. So can I get it through email?
Absolutely.
Okay, and mail it back to you like tomorrow or Thursday. Is tomorrow Thursday? No, Thursday by Thursday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
The Monday screwed me up this Monday. Okay.
We'll
good.
send it through an email collector. That way it'll be linked to your email, and you can always go back to that email and that button to open it again and pick up where you left off if you are needing more time. So we can send that out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
We have about 2 more minutes. So are there any other lingering, burning questions?
Will the residency program they'll still be go on? That's part of what Marie was talking about, the normal process, the normal stuff that goes on with Hartford Performs residency, right? Will that still be happening?
Yeah, yes. Well, so normal programming as usual. We are collecting information, and this is a slow process of adding new stuff. Just what we said, I'm reiterating. Yes, normal programming as usual. You need to submit your programs for review for our roster listings. Teachers will be making selections next year, just as they did this year.
Okay, cool.
All right. Fabulous. Well, it was so lovely to see your faces. I'm jealous of the folks that are outside. I need to get myself a setup outdoors too. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks, Tracy, for sharing that information about Hartford schools. I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you on June 7th at our year-end celebration. We're going to have delicious food and some fun. So looking forward to seeing you all then.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Nice to
right.
see you all.